My name is Elena Garza, 27 years old, living in urban Oak Cliff, Dallas, Texas. They didn't just betray me. They used my name to commit crimes, destroyed my reputation, and left me to take the fall. My own family. I was supposed to be invisible, the quiet one, the safe one. But they forgot one thing. Even quiet girls know how to burn it all down. Have you ever been betrayed by the people you loved most? What if your own family stole your name, your future, and left you to burn? This is the story of how I fought back, and the one thing that saved me. Like, subscribe, and stay until the end. You won't believe what they did, or how I made them regret it. Welcome back to the story. I used to believe loyalty was born in the blood. That if you shared a last name, a front porch, and Sunday dinners, you were unshakable. That belief started, and nearly ended, with my family. I grew up in Oak Cliff, a neighborhood in Dallas that's as stubborn and proud as the people in it. The kind of place where folks still mow their own lawns, where neighbors call you Mija whether they know your name or not. Where your business is everybody's business, and God help you if you disrespect your elders in public. My parents, Consuela and Luis Garza, were local legends in their own quiet way. My mother was a nurse at Parkland Hospital, tough as nails and quick with a dish towel when you mouthed off. My dad ran Garza's auto detail off West Jefferson. He had grease-stained hands and a slow, steady voice that could calm angry customers and stubborn engines alike. People respected him, looked up to him, and then there was my older brother, Mateo. If you asked anyone on our block about the Garzas, they'd light up and say, "Oh, you mean Mateo's family?" He was the pride of Oak Cliff. Quarterback at Sunset High, prom king. Business degree from UT Austin. When he came back home after college to help run the family shop, everyone swore he was going to make the Garza name bigger than ever. I was the quiet one. The bookworm. I kept to myself, worked part-time at the library through high school, and eventually landed an IT job at a small firm downtown. I didn't have Mateo's smile or our dad's charisma, but I liked my quiet life. I liked being the background, and I trusted them, all of them. My mama, who made the best arroz con pollo when I was sick. My dad, who taught me how to change a tire before I could even drive. Mateo, who used to sneak me candy under the dinner table when I got grounded. We had our rhythms, our traditions. Christmas tamales with abuela before midnight mass. Sunday barbacoa and lottery scratch-offs. Fights, sure, but always followed by forgiveness. I used to tell people I was lucky, that in a world where families fell apart, mine stayed solid. But here's the thing about roots. They can run deep into rot and you'd never know it until the whole tree starts leaning. Looking back now, I can see the cracks that were always there. The things I dismissed. The things I didn't want to believe, like why Mateo came home from college with more money than any intern should have, why our family shop suddenly had new equipment we couldn't afford, why my parents never wanted me involved in the business. Even though I had the tech skills to run the books better than any of them, I ignored all of it, because in Oak Cliff, blood runs deep, and betrayal runs even deeper. It was a Thursday night, late September. The air was thick with that kind of heat that sticks around long after the sun goes down, typical Dallas weather. I was curled up on my couch in sweats, binge-watching a true crime docuseries, blissfully unaware that my own life was about to turn into one. Then came the knock. It wasn't loud, but it was urgent. 3 quick raps, then silence. I checked the time. 11:42 p.m. I almost didn't answer. But something about it felt off. I opened the door and froze. "Jaden?" I blinked. "What the hell happened to your face?" My cousin stood there, lips split, one eye swollen, hands twitching like he'd just escaped something. Or someone. "Can I come in?" He whispered, looking over his shoulder. I stepped aside, heart starting to race. Jaden and I hadn't been close in years. He'd always been the screw-up of the family, trouble with cops, temp jobs he never kept. But this wasn't that. This was fear. He dropped onto my couch and ran both hands through his hair. "I shouldn't be here," he said, barely above a whisper. "But I couldn't just not tell you." I stood still, arms crossed. "Tell me what?" He looked up at me, really looked at me. They're using your name, Elena. For the shop. For other stuff too. Your social, your signature, everything. I blinked. What are you talking about? He leaned forward, voice low. Mateo. T.O. Luis. They put everything under your name. The business accounts, the papers for some fake LLCs. You don't own just a piece of Garza Auto Detail. On paper? You own it all. My stomach dropped. No. No way. I never signed anything, they forged it, he cut in. They've been doing it for a while now. Your dad. He said you had the cleanest credit. You were invisible. Perfect for it. I sat down, hard. My ears were ringing. You're saying I'm the fall person? I asked, my voice cracking. Jaden nodded slowly. Yeah. And now the IRS is sniffing around. If they come knocking, it won't be Mateo they take. It'll be you. I couldn't process it. My own family. My father. Mateo. The people who raised me. Loved me. Lied to me. I shook my head, trying to make it make sense. Why would they do this to me? Jaden looked down at his bruised knuckles. Because you trusted them not to. A silence fell between us, heavy, sharp, and irreversible. I know I've messed up a lot, he added. But this? You didn't deserve it. I wanted to scream. To cry. But all I could do was sit there, my world unraveling in real time. One truth hitting harder than any punch. If what Jaden said was true, my family hadn't just betrayed me, they had set me up to burn. 3 days after Jaden's visit, the letter came, plain white envelope. No fanfare. No drama. Just the kind of cold, official language that makes your skin crawl before you even finish the first sentence. Notice of audit, Internal Revenue Service. They were requesting documents for Garza Auto Detail, the business I apparently owned. Accounts tied to my name. Loans. Payroll. Income I'd never seen and taxes I'd never filed, because I didn't know I was supposed to. I stared at the paper so long I stopped blinking. My name was on everything. Signed in neat cursive that almost looked like mine, but not quite. Too perfect. Too careful. I felt like I was drowning in paperwork someone else had written, using my identity as the pen. I didn't call. I didn't text. I showed up at the shop the next morning, early, before the first customer pulled in, before they could prepare their stories. Mateo was in the garage, polishing a Cadillac like he didn't have a care in the world. My dad sat at the desk inside, sipping Café da Olla like he always did, acting like the walls weren't about to cave in. I walked straight in and dropped the audit letter on the counter. Explain this. Mateo didn't even blink. My dad leaned forward, scanned it briefly, then sighed like I'd brought home a bad grade. Elena, he said slowly, I was going to talk to you about this. You were going to? I snapped. You made me the owner of a business I don't even work for. Do you understand what that means? I could go to prison. Mateo finally spoke. Calm. Like this was no big deal. It's just a formality. We needed a clean name. You weren't using your credit. It made sense. It made sense? I laughed, sharp and ugly. You stole my identity. You committed fraud. You forged my damn signature. Mateo shrugged. We were protecting you, Elena. You've got nothing to lose. No house. No kids. No major assets. You were perfect. I stared at him, numb. So that's what I am to you? Perfect to throw under the bus? My father stood, eyes hard. Don't be dramatic. Everything we've done, this was for the family. For survival. For legacy. No, I said, voice low. This was for you. You used me because you thought I wouldn't fight back. Mateo stepped forward, voice suddenly sharp. And what are you going to do now? Turn us in? Put your own blood behind bars? That's when I knew, this wasn't guilt. It wasn't panic, it was strategy. They were counting on me to stay quiet. To fold under the weight of our last name. To protect them while they destroyed me. I turned and walked out, my hands shaking but my spine straight. I wasn't going to save them, not this time. I thought confronting them would be the turning point, that maybe, guilt would crack through all that arrogance, and they'd back off. Fix what they'd done. Give me my life back. But I underestimated how far Matteo was willing to go. Less than a week after I stormed out of the shop, a sheriff's deputy knocked on my apartment door with a manila envelope. Restraining order. Filed by Matteo Garza. Stamped, sealed, and authorized by a judge. I remember just staring at it. It said I'd harassed him. Threatened him. That I'd shown up at the business with the intent to cause harm, lies, all of it, but the paper didn't care. The court didn't care. And apparently, Matteo had emails and texts to prove it, fabricated messages from an email that looked like mine, close enough to fool someone skimming through. Threatening language. Photoshopped screenshots. Even a call log that I never made. It was so polished it felt like he'd been preparing this for months, and maybe he had. Jaden called me that night, panicked. He's flipping the script. Making you look unstable. I already felt unstable. The restraining order meant I couldn't go near the shop. Couldn't talk to Matteo or my dad. I couldn't access any business documents to defend myself, not without violating the court's order. My own name was chained to something I wasn't even allowed to touch. Worse, the audit was still moving forward. I tried to get a lawyer. 3 of them turned me down. Said it looked bad. Said there was too much paperwork, too many forged documents that bore my signature. My history of no priors and clean living? It didn't matter anymore. To the world, I didn't look like a victim. I looked like a guilty business owner trying to blame her family. And my family? They were silent. Not a call. Not a word. My mom stopped answering texts. When I showed up at her house just to talk, just to see her, she peeked through the blinds but never opened the door. I felt like I was being erased, day by day. My name, my credibility, my identity, everything I'd built, was stripped away. There were nights I couldn't sleep, just laying on the couch staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd gotten here. From a quiet life of spreadsheets and library books to being the fall girl in a crime I never committed, it wasn't just betrayal anymore, it was war. And if Matteo thought I'd break quietly under the pressure, he didn't know me as well as he thought he did, because the deeper they buried me, the more I dug for the truth. And when I finally found it, it came on a dusty old flash drive I almost didn't open. By the time I moved in with Jaden, I had nothing left, no job, lost that after the audit notice reached HR. No apartment, couldn't keep up with rent once my accounts were frozen for pending investigation. And no family. Not really. Not the kind that checks in to see if you're eating or breathing. I was sleeping on a sagging couch in Jaden's 1-bedroom apartment, living out of a duffel bag and microwaving instant ramen like I was 17 again. Most days, I stared at the ceiling. Most nights, I stared at the walls. And one rainy Thursday afternoon, I stared at a flash drive. Jaden had tossed it onto the coffee table 2 weeks earlier. Just some stuff I backed up from the shop before they kicked me out, he'd said. Might be useful. At the time, I was too numb to care, but that day, something in me cracked. I was tired of feeling powerless. Tired of being the one left holding the bag. So I dug out my laptop and plugged it in. There were folders labeled with dates. Some invoices. A few spreadsheets. Boring stuff, but one folder caught my eye, garage_mic_audio. It held dozens of audio files, time-stamped, grainy, but clear enough. I clicked the first one and heard my father's voice. Elena's credit is still clean. She's not watching her accounts. We can push another 50 through. My breath caught. I clicked another. Matteo this time, laughing. If she finds out, what's she gonna do? Turn us in? She won't even know where to start. I sat frozen. Every word was another dagger. They had recorded themselves, discussing bank transfers, forging documents, even strategizing how to pin everything on me if it went south. They'd rehearsed it. My father coached Mateo on what to say if investigators asked about the business structure. They even mocked me, my voice, my loyalty, my silence. By the fifth recording, my hands were shaking too hard to type. But I knew what I had. Evidence. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't the criminal. I backed up the files to multiple drives, uploaded them to a secure cloud folder, and then just sat there, staring at my reflection in the dark screen. They thought they'd erased me, but I had proof, and not just of what they'd done, but of who they really were. Jaden came home that night to find me pacing the living room, hair a mess, eyes wild. I heard it. I told him everything. He paused, then nodded. You're gonna burn them down, aren't you? I didn't smile. I didn't have to, because fire was coming, and this time, I wasn't the one getting scorched. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next one, not out of fear, but from the electricity running under my skin. The flash drive had given me something I hadn't felt in weeks, power, and I knew exactly who to call. Rosa Martinez and I had gone to Sunset High together. She was 2 years ahead of me, the kind of girl who ran the school newspaper like it was the New York Times. Now, she was a local investigative reporter for a digital news outlet in Dallas, known for taking down corrupt officials and shady developers. She didn't just report stories, she exposed them. I sent her a text, I have a story. Big one. Need to meet. It's personal. She responded in 10 minutes, tomorrow. 9 a.m. Bring everything. We met at a quiet cafe near Bishop Arts. I handed her a burner flash drive and waited. She plugged it into her laptop, threw on headphones, and listened. No interruptions. No questions. Just silence, until she pulled the headphones off and stared at me like she'd seen a ghost. Elena, she whispered, this is federal. They talk about laundering, forgery, fraud, and it's all in your name. I know, I said. They set me up. Rosa didn't waste time. She called her editor, and by the next morning, the headline broke, local businesswoman framed by family in multi-year fraud scheme, exclusive audio evidence leaked. The article exploded. Within hours, the story spread to local TV. Then national blogs picked it up. Podcasts, Twitter, even a few TikToks with dramatic reenactments. The media storm rolled in like a Texas thundercloud, loud, fast, and impossible to ignore. And that same afternoon, DPD arrested Mateo outside the shop. They got my dad that evening at the house. Seeing their mugshots online was surreal. My family, my blood, now listed under criminal charges that included identity theft, conspiracy to defraud the government, and tax fraud. I should have felt vindicated, I should have felt free, but I didn't, because the moment the story broke, my phone lit up like wildfire. Friends, ex-coworkers, people I hadn't talked to in years, but not my mother, not a word, no text. No call. No, Mija, are you okay? And as much as Mateo and my father had betrayed me, it was her silence that cut the deepest. The news outlets wanted interviews. Rosa offered to help shape the narrative. I gave a brief statement and kept it vague. The truth was, I didn't want fame. I didn't want attention, I wanted to breathe again, but breathing wasn't easy when your whole identity was still legally tangled in the wreckage. The legal system moved slowly. The audit wasn't closed. The restraining order hadn't been dropped. The charges were pending. All I'd done was expose them, but exposure wasn't justice, and it sure as hell wasn't closure. I kept waiting for her to reach out, after the arrests. After the headlines. After my face showed up on the local news as the victim who fought back. But from my mother, nothing, not a call. Not a text. Not even a knock on Jaden's door. At first, I told myself she was scared. That maybe she didn't know what to say. That maybe, just maybe, she was as blindsided as I had been. But the silence stretched longer than any excuse could carry, and when I finally drove to her house, the one I grew up in, I found the curtains drawn. The porch light off. Her car gone. The mailbox full. She had disappeared, no note. No warning, just a hollow shell of a home, and a daughter with questions that had nowhere to go. I sat on the porch swing for almost an hour, the rusted chain creaking with every slow sway. I kept thinking about the nights we used to sit there together, her brushing the tangles from my hair while I told her about my day. How she'd hum softly in Spanish, the sound of comfort, of safety. I wondered if it had all been fake, and then the memories came, little cracks and moments I'd never thought to examine until now, like the time she shredded a stack of mail without opening it. Bank stuff, she'd said, or the way she always changed the subject when I asked about helping at the shop. You don't need to be involved in that mess, she'd tell me. You've got your own path. And how, when Mateo bought a brand new truck out of nowhere, she scolded him, but only behind closed doors. Never to his face, she knew, maybe not every detail. Maybe not how far it went. But she knew something. And she didn't stop it. Maybe she was trying to protect me. Or maybe she was protecting herself. I kept replaying her voice in my head. Family comes first, Elena. We don't turn on our own. But what happens when your own turns on you? Was she afraid? Trapped? Or was silence just easier than choosing sides? Jaden found a friend at the DMV who said she'd requested a duplicate license and changed her mailing address. The trail ended there. I didn't file a missing persons report. I couldn't bear the idea of dragging her name into another legal mess. I just let her vanish. The world called me brave. Called me a hero for standing up, but all I wanted in that moment was for my mother to knock on the door and say, "I'm sorry, Mija." I didn't know how to stop them. Instead, I got silence, and silence, I was learning, could be louder than any lie. Clearing my name wasn't the finish line. It was just the ground floor of the life they tried to bury me under. Once the evidence was processed and the IRS confirmed the fraud, I was officially removed from the business filings. The audit closed in my favor. The restraining order was thrown out like the garbage it was. But I didn't feel relief, I felt rage. They hadn't just tried to ruin me. They tried to erase me, so I made a choice. I wasn't just going to walk away free, I was going to take the whole rotten structure down with me. I partnered with Rosa again, this time not for headlines, but for names. People. She connected me with a legal team that specialized in financial crimes and asset recovery. They were pit bulls in suits, exactly what I needed. Turns out, the fake LLCs Mateo created weren't just under my name. He'd roped in friends of the family, distant cousins, even neighbors who signed things without knowing what they were agreeing to. The deception ran deep, but the trail was clear. And thanks to those audio files, we had leverage. We froze accounts, dismantled shell corporations, filed civil lawsuits, sent cease and desist letters to anyone still profiting off the name Garza Auto Detail, and when the city moved to seize the shop due to unpaid taxes and illegal business practices, I didn't lift a finger to stop them. I stood across the street that day as they boarded up the windows. The faded logo my father once painted by hand now cracked and peeling under the weight of truth. It didn't feel like closure. It felt like justice. Jaden stood beside me, arms crossed. "That's it, huh?" he asked. "No," I said. "This is just what's left after the fire." Because I wasn't mourning it, not the building, not the name, not the legacy. What they built was never mine to begin with. It was a house of lies, passed off as tradition. Let it burn. I took back everything they thought I'd lose. My name, my credit, my identity, and I built something new with it. I started my own consulting firm, focused on digital identity protection, fraud awareness, and financial literacy for women. Especially women from families like mine. Ones taught to trust, to stay silent, to protect the family at any cost. I named the company Ash Anchor. Because sometimes you have to let things burn before you find what's worth holding on to. People still talk in Oak Cliff. Some say I destroyed the Garza name. Others say I saved it. Let them talk. I'm not here to defend the past, I'm here to own my future. If you had asked me a year ago who I was, I would have said, just Elena. I work in IT. Quiet. Nothing special. I didn't know how wrong I was. Now, people introduce me as that woman from the news, or the one who took her family down. But I've learned to live beyond the headlines. What they don't see is the rebuild, brick by brick, scar by scar, after the fire, the one that tore down my family's lies. I didn't just walk away from the ashes. I built something from them. I launched my consulting firm, Ash Anchor, from the corner table of a co-working space with nothing but a busted laptop, a prepaid phone, and a hell of a story. Now I teach women how to spot red flags in their financial accounts. How to lock down their credit reports. How to monitor for signs of digital abuse, from forged emails to financial gaslighting. I've worked with single mothers, students, even a retired teacher who cried when I showed her how her son had been stealing from her for years. They always say the same thing: I never thought it could happen to me. Neither did I, but betrayal wears many faces, sometimes the ones you grew up trusting the most. I've spoken at women's shelters, cybersecurity panels, even high schools. My story isn't just a cautionary tale, it's a mirror. A warning. And a battle cry, because survival isn't the end of the road. It's where power begins. I've stopped waiting for closure. My mother never came back. I don't think she ever will. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if she thinks of me. If she regrets her silence, but then I look around, at my clients, my team, the women writing their own stories in the spaces I carved out, and I realize something: I didn't just survive what they did to me, I became unbreakable because of it. Mateo and my father are still facing court proceedings. Every now and then, I get emails from distant relatives trying to make peace or talk it out. I leave them unread. I'm not angry anymore, I'm awake, and that's more dangerous to them than anything else. They wanted me erased. Silenced. Used. Instead, I became louder, smarter, stronger. This isn't the story of a woman who was ruined, it's the story of a woman who refused to stay broken. And if you're out there, reading this, listening to this, watching from your own storm, remember, you don't have to wait for someone to save you. Sometimes the only thing that saves you is the fire they tried to bury you in. If you've ever had to rise from betrayal, I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below and tell me how you took your power back. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true stories that prove one thing: you can't break someone who's already survived. The fire.